It doesn't take 90 days to launch a podcast. I can do it in about 2 hours, and that's with publishing 3 episodes. And if this is possible for me, then it's possible for you. What's good? It's Rob Cressy, and over the last decade, I've published over 1,000 podcast episodes and have a top 2% podcast in the world. And I know the longer it takes for you to launch a podcast, the greater the chance of it not happening. So what I want to do in this is share with you the exact process that you can do or follow that will help you launch a podcast the exact same day that you start working on it. And if after watching or listening to this, you say, you know what, Rob, I would love your help in helping me launch a podcast the same day in as little as 2 hours, slide into my DMs at Rob Cressy on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or shoot me an email, rob@robcressy.com. So let's start with the important stuff for launching a podcast in the same day. Number 1, have fun. The journey we're about to go on needs to be fun because that's one of the key ingredients to being successful at podcasting. Number 2, you are the only one with your voice. So we love to share it with others. So if you're sitting there thinking, why would anybody care about what I have to say? Please throw that in the trash because you are the only one who has your voice and the world needs to hear more from you. Number 3, you want to create a positive impact. Everyone that I work with, the entrepreneurs and the leaders out there in the world, they all want to create positive impact in some manner on other people, on their business, you name it. And then number 4, you are committed to publishing at least 20 episodes. And this is important because if you're just sitting here saying, I want to launch a podcast, but I'm not committed to making it happen more than a few episodes, then what I'm about to share is not for you. What I will share is, if you say, hey, let me get to episode 20, that's a good barometer to where you've done this enough to where you can then evaluate and say, hey, is this something that I want to continue doing? So those are the very simple criteria for what's important for the journey that we're about to go on. So here's how we're going to do this. What I know to be true is that most people are their own time delay when it comes to launching a podcast. And uncertainty leads to inaction. If you don't know what to do, you're likely to do nothing. At the same time, there's also analysis paralysis, where you sit there and you think that I need to get every single thing perfect. And I get the difference between having a high standard for your brand and being willing to ship the work quickly. There's the quote in the startup world where if you're not embarrassed by your MVP product, your version 1.0, then you shipped it too late. And that's the mindset that we are going to take with launching a same-day podcast in less than 2 hours. Because what's more important for me is you getting the feeling and the understanding of, 1, executing this process and publishing your podcast, because then number 2, we can work on making it better over the next 20 episodes. And this is absolutely backwards thinking. Most people say, well, let me get all the knowledge and get everything before I publish my podcast, as opposed to, listen, we're just going to churn and burn and get this thing out into the world, because at the end of the day, these are just little inches that we're going to work on. And if I was doing this for myself and I said my only goal is to launch a podcast the same day, then I'm going to throw the majority of the all the self-limiting beliefs in the trash. So the premise on this, process before polish. And our goal, publishing 20 podcast episodes. So here's how we're going to do this. Number 1, this is going to be a solo podcast, just you speaking. Why? Because when you bring in a guest or a co-host, that's immediately going to slow things down. How do I know? Because a lot of people who want to launch a podcast will say, yeah, but I got to go and coordinate with somebody else's schedule. Immediately we create a time delay. One of the things that I know is a superpower for me for how I create more episodes and more downloads is I create micro episodes, little 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 minute short episodes all around one topic. So that's what we're going to do here is we're going to say, we're going to launch with 3 episodes and a podcast trailer. And the 3 episodes will be 7 minutes or less. And I want you to just pick one topic that you can talk about with your eyes closed. You're like, boom, I want my show to be about this. I'm going to talk about these 3 things right here. And what we would end up doing together is you can go ahead right now and I'll share with you the equipment that we're going to use, but you can go and record this on Zoom. Boom, you speaking for 7 minutes or less, and you just do this 3 times in a row. Congratulations. There's your podcast. Because a podcast is really just a recorded audio conversation. We add more complexity to it because that we think that, oh, I have to be Joe Rogan or whatever the super podcaster is that I want to emulate. Of course, we can create structures like that. The next thing, people always get tripped up about their name. So for me, if I'm launching a new podcast, I'm just going to call it my name. Welcome to the Rob Cressy Show. Boom, done. All right. Now it comes to the podcast cover art. What in the world am I going to do? Well, since it's called the Rob Cressy Show, I'm just going to go on Canva. I'm going to type in podcast cover art. I'm going to see what there is. I'm going to take one image of myself. I'm going to click background remove. Wow. Now there's just a picture of me. I'm going to superimpose that on there. Change the text to the Rob Cressy Show. There's a picture for me. Boom. 2 minutes later, there's my thumbnail. So when it comes to putting yourself in a position to succeed, or what I would want or encourage you to bring to the table before you launch your podcast, number 1, purchase a microphone. When it comes to what you need, absolutely need to get in the game of podcasting, we just need minimum commitment, and that is good audio. Good audio doesn't mean a $400 microphone. Good audio just means not speaking into your computer. Of course, sure, you can go ahead and speak into your computer, but quality is important for all of us. So I've got tons of resources. I'll drop them in the show notes of podcast studio equipment. You can buy a microphone for $60 or $110 or $400. Whatever your budget, I've got you. Just go and choose one, make it happen. Number 2, you're going to sign up for a podcast hosting provider. I recommend Buzzsprout. It's $12 a month. All you do, this is the place where you're going to be uploading your podcasts. Number 3, podcast editing. This is a thing that trips up most people because they've never done this before. But this is also what they don't know. Editing a podcast takes maybe 90 seconds. Why? Because all we're going to do is cut out the dead air at the beginning and the dead air at the end. We don't do any editing whatsoever in terms of getting rid of the ahs and ums. That's just needless stuff. And because of this, the process is nice and simple. What I like to use is Adobe Audition. It's $22 a month, and it is the easiest program to use. With zero experience, I can teach you in 5 minutes how to use Adobe Audition. Nice and simple. And then how are you going to record this? You're going to record it on Zoom. Why? Because for the first 200 plus episodes, that's how I recorded my podcast. It's simple. It's either free or, depending on how long your show will eventually be, might be like $10 a month to record it on Zoom. Of course, there is more complex or different platforms that we can use. And if that's something that you're interested in, of course, that's a different conversation. We've got the StreamYards of the world, or Riverside, or Ecamm Live, where you see people creating short form video content. But let's not go ahead and get too complex right out of the gate. The goal, once again, is just to publish a podcast in 2 hours in the same day. So what we're going to do is, when you're ready to say, Rob, how do I make stuff that looks like Alex Hormozi? I can do that with my eyes closed. I've got a team. I've got processes. I can give all of that to you. And oh, by the way, every single thing that I'm sharing with you right now is already created. I've got blog posts. I've got videos. But here's the thing that I thought about. You actually don't care about any of that. You just say, Rob, I want my podcast launched. So what I will do with anybody who's interested is we will say, all right, let's set a timer for 2 hours, and then we're going to hit go. And then together, we're going to make all of this happen. And the way that I do this, and the way that I know I'm so confident at this, is using ChatGPT. I took my podcast process and I created a super prompt where it asks me questions saying, all right, what do you want for the name of the show? What's your podcast description? How do you write a show? All of this different stuff. So I know in 15 minutes, I can have the entire structure of the show built out in a world-class manner. Because that's the difference between, you're going to see a lot of people out there that can say, hey, you can just publish a podcast like this, just pick up your phone and talk to it. I get it, but I'm world-class in all that I do, and so is everybody that I work with. So how can we bring together fast, easy, and high quality where we're checking all of the boxes? Well, we're just going to follow a world-class process where we go chink, 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 boom, get all those things done. So then it's time to do the recording, and we're going to make the intros and the outros super easy. Welcome to the Rob Cressy Show. I'm your host, Rob Cressy. Today's topic, how to launch a podcast in 2 hours or less. Boom. There's your intro. So formulaically, name of your show, who you are, topic. Hi, I'm Joe Smith, and welcome to the Joe Schmo Show. Today's topic, how to be an average Joe. Nice and simple. And then when it comes time for your outro, we're going to keep it nice and simple. Hey, thanks for listening. I would love to hear from you about this episode. You can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Rob Cressy. Boom. All it is a call to action at the end. Remember, improving the show can happen after the show is complete the first time. But if we're going to launch this bad boy in 2 hours or less, boom, you're just going to follow the formula and say simple, simple, simple. Because what you're going to realize is in the 1,000 episodes that I've published, I've said the same intro and outro every single time. Consistency creates confidence. So this is one of the things that I want to help instill in you. And speaking of confidence, this is probably one of the more challenging parts of all of this is we're looking to accelerate the speed in which we do this. And for a lot of the people that I've worked with, we do this process in 30 days or less, where, hey, we're going to have a call once a week over 4 weeks so that you can go and cook on this stuff. But once again, the longer it takes for you to launch a show, the greater the chance of it not happening. So that's why I want to burst all of this stuff for you. And then if you want to go deeper and say, Rob, how can I be a better host or more polished? Or what are those expert tips that you can share with me that will make my show better? Remember, it's only inches that separate good from great. Well, in our case, the inches are going to be from good to great to world class. I can help you on all of those levels. But the key is, of course, we got to get this party started. And I know this to also be true. When you get your podcast live into the world, it will change you. You will see everything differently, and the world will go from black and white to color. Because now all of a sudden, you're going to step into the identity of, I am a podcaster. When someone's like, hey, Rob, what's new? I'd be like, I just launched a brand new podcast, The Rob Cressy Show. Like, oh my God, tell me about that. How did you learn? You're going to be like, it was so simple. My friend Rob helped me do it in 2 hours or less. You're like, wow, that's unbelievable. Where can I listen? You're like, good news. I've got 3 episodes already done. What? Are you an expert at this? Boom. That's how the conversation is going to go. And then, of course, once you start getting positive feedback, the logical thing will be, well, Rob, how do I make this thing better? Cool. Well, that's a different conversation for a different day. Our goal right here is only getting this bad boy launched in 2 hours or less. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm looking here. This is 13 minutes for this podcast episode here, but that's really the nuts and bolts of how we're going to make this thing happen. Because in real time, and here's how I'm visually seeing this, jump on a Zoom call, schedule 2 hours and say, listen, you are literally going to speak the podcast to me. You're going to go, welcome to the Rob Cressy Show. I'm your host, Rob Cressy. Today's topic, boom. And then you're going to go and do it. And we're going to hit record, stop, record, stop. Record, stop. Great. Then we're going to have 3 audio files. We're then going to go and open up Adobe Audition. I'm going to go, boom. Here's how you edit this. Chop, 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 chop. Boom, done. You're going to go, oh my God, it was this easy. And then we're going to go, great. Now that we have all of those things, let's upload those to Buzzsprout, the podcast hosting provider. Boom. We're going to upload your thumbnail cover art, your description, the name of your show. Boom, done. And of course, if you want to add any layer of creativity to this, you're more than welcome to. We're just not going to spend a lot of time on it because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. What's more important is that you publish your podcast and get episodes live into the world. So that's all of it for you. If you're interested in launching a podcast in 2 hours or less in the same day, hit me up, rob@robcressy.com, or slide into my DMs, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook at Rob Cressy. We can jump on a quick call, talk about how and when you want to do this. I'll send you over a booking link and we'll make all of it happen. Sending tons of good vibes your way. Hope you have yourself an amazing rest of the day.